I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve. Shit on my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't hit, I don't slay. When I'm focused on dangerous, down wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. Bust a family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me elevating. Got them nauseous, cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the option. Woo! Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Woo!
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC San Diego. We have Marlon Vera going against Dominic Cruz. We have a 13-fight card, a pretty good fight card, I'd say. Definitely looking forward to it. I do have, I think, 7 or 8 bets, so lots to talk about. I'm loving this card from a Draftkings perspective as well, so we'll talk about that. Yeah, it should be a good card overall. Definitely looking forward to it. Before I get into it, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Dana White's Contender Series content is out on Monday. We got content for UFC out on Tuesday, the live stream Friday and Saturday for Best Bet will be tomorrow in the afternoon, and just lots more content, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on all of that. And as always, we are going to shout out the chat before we get started. See what's up. We got Tony, first one in the chat, saying, "What is up, Brady? This card is Sketch City, USA. Going to go light until UFC 278 next week." And yeah, I thought I was going to be pretty light on this card, and I am light-ish. But I do have quite a few bets, actually. I think, 7 or 8 of them. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I am heavily exposed, or a lot more exposed than I thought I would be on this card. We got Trey. What is up, Trey? Saying, "What is up, Brady? I think Vera by violence, head kick." Yeah, I'm leaning Vera by violence myself. We got Fear saying, "Since Breski lost a lot of muscle mass during the weigh-ins, does it actually help with the cardio due to his muscles not requiring as much oxygen?" We'll have to find out, Fear, but I'll say this: he did not look to be in the best shape. That's all I'll say. Bill saying, "Big brain, let's smash this card. Let's do it." Bill, what is up? Thank you for hanging out. We got Dave. What is up, Dave? Saying, "With every new weigh-in and fight, Breski's looking worse and worse." Up, Brady. Yeah, the weigh-ins was definitely not a good look. And I did retweet, I think it was MCC, his tweet. It was comparing the SureDog picture of Breski with how he looked at weigh-ins, and there's two different people. Damien saying, "Dom looks so drained on the scale." He didn't look great, but he looked a little bit better than I expected. Witt looked big, 179 pounds. Yeah, Witt did look pretty big. We got ML saying, "Yeah, what is up, ML?" But yeah, guys, I know we have Bellator going on, I believe, and then we also have the ceremonial weigh-ins going on. I'll be kind of watching those as I'm talking here, kind of multitasking. But yeah, should be a good card, and can't wait to start breaking it down. So I say we get into it. And we will start with the first fight of the night. We have Yusuf Salao going against Damon Blackshear. We have Salao minus 130, Blackshear plus 110. A bet that I was kind of looking at was going to be the fight goes to decision. It's minus 190 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. The reason I do like that bet is both of these guys are super durable. Both these guys, their submission defense is on point. You have Damon Blackshear has actually fought some pretty good competition outside the UFC. Guys like Danny Sabatello, guys like Pat Sabatini. And yeah, 4 losses, none of them come inside the distance. And you have a guy like Yusuf Salao, who he as well has fought some very good guys. Sean Woodson, Sungwoo Choi, and of course, Aaliyah Topuria, who's super dangerous. And that was Topuria's only decision win was against Yusuf Salao. So I think this fight will be pretty competitive. I'm curious to see how Salao looks coming down a weight class for the first time in the UFC at 135. I think it's a good weight class for him. And he's also taken a little bit over a year off as well. So he's taken that year off. He's a young guy training with great guys. I do think we see the best version of Yusuf Salao this week. But it will play out pretty close, I think. I think the fight goes decision at minus 190 is what I would be looking at. But I don't think I'll be touching this fight from a betting perspective. From a DraftKings perspective, Just not really sold on either guy here. I kind of expect a low output and low Draftkings score here from really both guys in wins. I guess if there's a finish in this fight, I think it's Blackshear by sub, but if Topuria is not subbing you, I don't think he's subbing Salao. So I think this does go to decision. I think it does not score well on Draftkings. Kind of a fight I'm avoiding as a whole. But as far as a pick, I will go with Salao. I think he probably has made some improvements over that time off. And yeah, curious to see how he looks in there tomorrow night. See what we got in there. Cachoeira, dog of the night. Yeah, she's a popular dog. Dog of the night, though, I don't know. We'll have to see. We got Glenn. What is up, Glenn? Hey, gents, how you doing? Over 1.5 and 2.5 of their last 5. Yeah, I think over 1.5 is probably safe. It's probably really juiced. And then the over 2.5 is solid. Then that fight goes to minus 190 are all pretty solid there. You kind of touched on it a little bit. If Salao versus Blackshear finishes, who gets the finish? I would lean towards Blackshear here to get that finish. He is pretty slick on the mat, but again, Salao very tough to submit. 9 out of 10. There you go. Yeah, makes sense for sure. For both, there you go. So yeah, I think the fight goes as a pretty decent play. Did not quite get there myself though. Let us move on to the next fight. Just watching the ceremonials here. We have Josh Quinlan, and it's kind of funny because we're looking at Josh Quinlan right now going against Jason Witt facing off. And yeah, Quinlan, it does look to be the bigger fighter there by a decent amount. My goodness. But we have Quinlan minus 280 going against Witt plus 240 here. And yeah, we talked about this fight a little bit last week, and I'm sticking with the same prediction. I like Quinlan to win. I like Quinlan to win by knockout. Jason Witt's been finished 8 times in his entire career, 6 by knockout. Quinlan does have a lot of power, and of course, there's some question marks, some red flags on the Quinlan side. He did get a test back last week, and that is why he, was not able to fight last week. There were some traces of something in his system still, so they moved to this week. So, kind of sketchy there, but, Quinlan does have a lot of power. Witt's very hittable, very chinny. I think Quinlan does find that knockout shot. From a betting perspective, though, not a ton sticking out. Quinlan's a huge favorite here, minus 280. Fight is good with minus 205. Quinlan inside the distance is minus 150. Just nothing really sticking out from a betting perspective. If you like the Witt side, I know DraftKings Sportsbook has that finish or the decision only on DraftKings Sportsbook is minus 120 for Witt. I think that could be pretty interesting. If this fight does go to decision, it probably means that Witt was able to get takedowns, was able to get control time, and win the decision. But I think Quinlan does touch him at some point in this fight. I think it could be in the first round. I think it could be in the second round, in the third round. At some point, I see Quinlan touching the chin of Jason Witt. So from a DraftKings perspective, interesting with the salaries here. So last week, I think it was Quinlan like 8,600, Witt 7,600, something like that. But these salaries have changed a lot. It's now Quinlan 9,100, which is a lot. And then Witt's only 7,100. So I think this is a really good fight to target. If Quinlan wins, I would expect it to be a knockout. And if Witt wins, I'd expect it to be a decision. But with that decision, coming takedowns, coming control time, and scoring really high. So as far as a pick, Quinlan, nothing from a betting perspective is really sticking out there. Nice of all the UFC to put Quinlan on the San Diego card so he can compete on steroids. Josh by KO. Yeah, I think he does knock out Witt here. Would I be surprised if this fight goes to distance? I would not be surprised, but if this does go to distance, I think it's probably Witt getting it done. We have Quinlan with a 100% finish rate in his wins, and we have Witt with a 100% finish rate in his losses, all 8 of his losses. So would I be surprised? Not really, but if it does go the distance, I think Witt probably was able to implement his game plan there and was able to kind of not get knocked out, basically. All right, catching up on the ceremonial weigh-ins there, looking at some Ode Osborne, Tyson Nam, and that is the fight we're going to get to next. See if I missed anything in here. Clark is the underdog of the night. Yeah, he's a lot of people's underdog of the night. I personally do like the other side, but I know Clark is a very popular underdog this week. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We have Ode Osborne going against Tyson Nam. And like a lot of lines on this entire card, we see that Ode Osborne's line is completely blown out to minus 270. And I get it. He should absolutely be favored here. He's younger. He's bigger. He's higher output. I think that's the key here. Tyson Nam, when you look at him, he has a lot of power. One of the hardest hitters in the division, but the output is not there. He's now 38 years old. He's taken a 1.5-year layoff coming off of an injury. Just everything seems to be going against Tyson Nam here, but he still has that power. And Ode Osborne has a 42% striking defense. He's extremely hittable, and Ode Osborne does have a suspect gas tank as well. I would not feel comfortable laying minus 270 on Ode Osborne. I have to pick him to win because I do think he's going to be more active. And again, he's a younger fighter. Tyson Nam is on a big layoff here. He's 38 years old at 125 is not good. But, would a Tyson Nam knockout shock me? No, not really at all. And it's plus 500, which is something I actually highly considered. Tyson Nam by knockout on FanDuel right now is plus 500 with how hard Nam hits, with how hittable Osborne is, and with him slowing down as the fight goes on. Tyson Nam by knockout plus 500 is pretty intriguing, and that's kind of what I would look at if I was to bet this fight. Nothing yet on this fight, but that was one spot that really did stick out. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't really love Ode Osborne at 8,800. I like a lot of spots around him. I like Budai more. I like going up and getting a Silva, a Gudinez, a Benitez. I like pretty much everybody else in his range. I like going down and getting an Onama, Marlon Vera. So I'm not going to get to a ton of Osborne. I know he's super dangerous, but Tyson Nam, for what it's worth, is super tough. Tyson Nam has only been knocked out 3 times, but the last time he's been knocked out was in 2013, and the knockout losses before that were like in 2005 or 2006, like a long time ago. So he's been knocked out once in the last almost 15 years or something. It's crazy. So extremely tough. I think if Ode Osborne does win, it's based off of activity and it's by decision, and it's the Osborne by decision is plus 215. But if anything, I would probably take a look at that Tyson Nam knockout prop. I think that's his win condition. Tyson Nam is not going to win a decision. He just does not do enough. But again, relying on a 125-pound fighter, a 38-year-old coming off of a layoff to land a knockout who doesn't throw any volume, I feel like it'd be kind of frustrating to even bet on Tyson Nam. So I'll probably just pass, but maybe some Nam for DraftKings for that knockout upside. Way overexposed to Quinlan, anchor in 3 parlays, fingers crossed. Yeah, there's a lot of great parlay pieces on this card. A lot of them. Quinlan, though, I mean, I think he should win, but I'd feel comfortable more so with a Gudinez, a Silva, a Benitez, a Budai, and then I'd probably put Quinlan after those 4. But yeah, I think he should win. ML liking the zombie girl. How big of an underdog was Witt against Barberena? Well, I can answer your question right now. Let me look it up. On Best Fight Odds, Best Fight Odds, something's up with their website today. It's too many errors. Let me see if I can still find it, though. I don't know if you guys noticed that as well, but something is up at the Best Fight Odds website. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. All right, there it is. Yeah, Witt was plus 230, plus 225 against Brian Barberena. Closed to plus 225 there. We got Zach in the chat saying, "Oi, what is up, Zach? How are you doing?" Tyson Nam is solo volume. Absolutely. And then Steven saying, "I got them all, buddy." There you go. Yeah, I do have a parlay myself that we'll talk about. And if you guys know me, you guys know I typically try to stay away from the parlays, but there's so many good parlay pieces. There's so many good parlay props, so many good parlay favorites here. So I did end up with 1 2-leg parlay. 2 legs is enough for me. All right. Catching up on these ceremonials, and we're looking at Charlie Ontiveros going against Gabriel Benitez. I'm expecting Ontiveros to have a big size advantage here, especially with that haircut. What a haircut on Ontiveros, and I expect a very intense stare down, and we're getting it here. I love it. We are expecting some violence in this fight. And as are the bookies, my goodness. This is one of those frustrating fights like last week where Terrence McKinney's a big favorite. Terrence McKinney's going to win inside the distance. He's going to win in round 1, but they're not letting you bet it. Terrence McKinney last week in round 1 was literally minus 200. McKinney inside the distance was minus 700. And it's kind of the same thing here. They know that this fight is probably going to end inside the distance, and they have the fight doesn't get the decision at minus 500 on BetOnline. And you can't even parlay props on BetOnline. So, what good does that do you? And on top of that, FanDuel and DraftKings still have not released the odds for this fight. And it's Friday. Still no odds on this fight. The only books that have out odds for this fight looks like 5 Dimes and BetOnline, as far as I'm concerned. Still no odds from FanDuel or DraftKings. And the reason being is I don't think they want you to bet on this fight. I think we all know what's going to happen here. And what is going to happen is somebody's getting knocked out, and somebody's getting knocked out in the very first round. Ontiveros is the least fragile fighter, not only on this card, but in the UFC. And that's pretty crazy considering Jason Witt is on this card. But no, Ontiveros is less durable than Jason Witt. I've seen this guy, tap the strikes. I've seen him quit in the middle of a fight. I've seen him get knocked out. You see it right there 8 times. This guy's made out of glass. And I don't think he's UFC caliber as well. Whereas Jason Witt, I do think he has some skills. He has the wrestling, he has the grappling. Whereas Ontiveros doesn't have much. Offensively, he's okay. He's powerful. He's dangerous. Defensively, he lacks a lot. Durability, he lacks a lot. And I think that's going to be a big problem here against Benitez. So I think Benitez runs through Ontiveros, and I think he does it in the very first round. 1 leg kick, 1 body kick. The fight is probably over shortly after. But there's no way to bet this. I mean, how are you going to bet minus 500 fight doesn't go to decision? You want to lay 5 units to win 1? I really don't. And you even take it like a look at their finish rates, right? Like Ontiveros only has a 54% finish rate. Benitez only an 82% finish rate, and we're paying minus 500. Like you take a look at for example, the Meerschaert Silva fight, much better finish rates, and I think that fight finishes as well. And we're only paying minus 350. But this is a Charlie Ontiveros fight. This fight is going to be wild. It's going to be crazy for as long as it lasts. They're going to throw down, but I think Benitez knocks out Ontiveros in the very first round. But as far as a bet, there's nothing I can bet, especially considering DraftKings and FanDuel still do not have lines out. I'll say this: if DraftKings and FanDuel get out, the fight doesn't go at like a reasonable price, I might parlay it with something tomorrow. So I'll have to see. Or maybe they won't even get lines out. I remember FanDuel, there was a fight a couple of weeks ago where FanDuel didn't even get the lines out on that fight. The entire week, no lines. So maybe they'll do that. Maybe they won't put fight lines out for this card. And maybe we won't be able to bet this. But yeah, fight doesn't go as a parlay piece. The under 1.5 is minus 255. I would not do that. That is that is one of the most chalky under 1.5s I've ever seen. Like even the McKinney fight, and I would look it up, but Best Fight Odds is not working properly. Even like the McKinney fight, the under 1.5 was around this price, right? And that's a Terrence McKinney fight. I would not lay minus 255 on an under 1.5 here. So yeah, just not a bettable fight. Benitez should win. He should win by first round knockout, but I don't know. And yeah, Bovada does allow you to parlay props, and Bovada has it at minus 600. So, what is that going to do, right? So I like violence. I want to bet violence, but they're not letting me. They're not letting me. I mean, if you're doing like a parlay with, a bunch of lay, I mean, why not throw in the fight doesn't go? But outside of that, I don't know. Neck injury was one of the worst. I don't think Ontiveros stands a chance. Yeah, Benitez is the biggest favorite on the entire card. I think for a reason. One of these guys is UFC caliber. One of these guys is not. And of course, Ontiveros can come out here and land a big shot. He's dangerous. Benitez has been knocked out 4 times, but I just don't think he's UFC caliber. I really don't. Sideshow Bob gets finished with a body kick round 1. Yeah, and I was making a joke that he might even get finished during the face-off. But it looks like he was able to get through the face-off, was able to continue after that. So, yeah, well, I think it's round 1 Benitez here. Charlie's corner has to make sure ice bags aren't too cold, or he might quit on the stool. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. All right, catching up on these ceremony weigh-ins. We're kind of watching them as we go, and it looks like we have a fight that I don't care about at all. I don't know. I mean, I would never bet on this fight ever. Cynthia Calvillo is a very popular play this week, and I don't know. Trusting Calvillo at chalk minus 190. She's on a 3-fight skid. She quit in her last fight. She now has an OnlyFans. I mean, I would not trust her in this fight. On the flip side, do I want to trust Nina Nunez? No, I do not. Just not much to say here. I mean, I'm not betting on this fight. I'm not playing it on DraftKings. I don't know. I mean, it's a clear dog or pass for me just because of the fact that I'm not laying minus 190 on Cynthia Calvillo. But do I want to bet Nunez? No, I don't. I do not want to bet on this fight at all. I am betting on 2 women's MMA fights, and I think we have. No, I'm betting on 3. I'm betting on 3 out of 4 women's MMA fights. Believe it or not, but I'm not betting on this one. There is no way. Too many red flags on each side. Too many question marks on each side. Does either fighter want to be here at this point? I don't know. Easy pass. 1-800 Gambler fight if I've ever seen one, ever. So yeah, pretty clear pass, and I think we can just move on here. All right. I would not parlay anything in this fight. I know Bovada kind of made a mistake. They put the over 1.5 at -1 or -240, whereas the 2.5 was like -260. And somebody hit me up about that, and I was not even tempted to play the over 1.5 because one of these fighters could quit. They could quit. All right. So yeah, I'm not gonna be playing anything in this fight. All right, looking at the Lucas Breski weigh-ins right now, and like I was saying earlier, this guy, he looks completely different than he did in the Sherdog pick. Like, go take a look at Breski's Sherdog picture. Look up Lucas Breski, and then go look at the stare downs, the face-offs, and that guy's not. It's not the same guy. It's not. He looks completely different. Budai is going to have a big weight advantage here. Budai weighed in at, what he weighed in, like 266. So he probably cut weight to get down to 266 there to make the weight limit, whereas Breski weighed in at 236. So at the very least, Budai is going to have a 30-pound weight advantage in this fight, at the very least. But it could probably be more. It could probably be 35, 40, depending on how much weight Budai cuts. I'm not sure, but he's a big dude. He's a big dude. So yeah, this is a low-level, sloppy, heavyweight fight. Very sloppy, very greasy. But I do have 2 bets on this fight. The first bet is going to be the fight doesn't go to decision. Money was pouring in on the over 1.5, and I believe it still is. It's a very popular play this week, the over 1.5. Whereas, and then DraftKings put the fight doesn't go to decision at -125, and it made no sense. It just made no sense to me. So I hit it for 1.5 units, and after I hit that, it actually went to -120. The fight doesn't go. I'm like, what's going on? What is going on? Do people know that Breski has 2 minutes of gas? Breski's literally going to gas out on the walkout. Breski gassed out during the face-off just now. This guy has the worst gas tank you'll ever see. So I know that over 1.5 is a very popular play, but it's going to be terrifying when you see Breski huffing and puffing as soon as the fight starts. On top of that, Martin Budai has never been 15 minutes, ever, in a win. Never been 15 minutes in a win. His last win against Chris Barnett was about a minute or so into the third round, and then he had that illegal strike and went to the third. And then the only other decision win he has was his debut, pro debut, and it was a 2-round decision, 10 minutes total. So he's never been 15 minutes. This guy's a finisher, and you take a look at the finish rates, right? Martin Budai, an 80% finish rate. Breski, an 88% finish rate. That is a higher combined finish rate than Gabriel Benitez and Charlie Ontiveros. And for the fight doesn't go, for Benitez Ontiveros, it's -500. For the fight doesn't go for the Breski fight, it's like -264 on FanDuel. And this is a heavyweight fight. So, it does not make sense to me. I think Budai is going to grind Breski against the cage. He's going to use his size. He's going to get him tired. And I think if he can take down Breski, I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. Budai, very good ground game. Brown belt in BJJ, great ground and pound. And I don't think Breski has the gas tank to go the full 15 here. So I like Budai. I like Budai inside the distance. I think Budai wins in round 2. I think it could go over 1.5, but it's going to be extremely greasy and sweaty. And if Breski does win, I think it's in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds because that's about as much gas as he really has shown. So I like Budai a decent amount. And yeah, like I said, Breski looks like a completely different guy. It's insane. It kind of reminds me of that Mozarov guy. He looked completely different on his Sherdog picture. He comes into the UFC, looks completely different. And we know that Breski did test positive for PEDs on the Contender Series fight and all that. And it's clear that he is no longer on those supplements. That's for sure. But yeah, so Budai, I have him in a parlay. I'll talk about the other parlay piece in a second, but I do have 1.5 units on the fight doesn't go at -125. Not sure why that line was there, and I would still play that at -164 on FanDuel. Heard about Zalamo's takedowns prop at +185. What do you think? I would not touch that. I think Blackshear can go for takedowns as well. Breski lasted in his Contender Series fight. Yeah, he did last into the third round, but he did huff and puff like early in that first round. Budai round 1K. I'm kind of leaning round 2, but I could see a round 1. Budai just pins guys in the cage and wears them out, absolutely. And he's active on the cage as well. He's throwing knees, he's throwing elbows. He's dangerous on the cage. It's not like he's going out there and just humping his opponent for 15 minutes. He's doing damage. Budai inside the distance plus money is my bet here. I like that a lot. You're getting a heavyweight fighter who's minus 300 and his inside the distance line is about even money. I like it. What is up, Jace? How you doing? And yeah, from a DraftKings perspective, I do like Budai, 8,900 takedowns, control time, finish upside. Breski probably not going to touch it. I mean, if he wins, it's probably early on, but I'm just not sold on the guy. So yeah, Budai for me. Budai inside the distance. We'll move on to the next fight, and this is going to close out my parlay. We have Lupi Gudinez going against Angela Hill, and I'm pulling up my bet here right now. I have 2 units on Budai and Gudinez, and that came out to minus 129. And if, yeah, like I said earlier, if you guys know me, you guys know I've been trying to stay away from the parlays. I've had a lot of success staying away from the parlays this week, but I do think both these fighters win their fight. Gudinez, now minus 350. I did parlay her at like minus 325. Yeah, I think she's a good parlay piece here. I think Lupi's a good parlay piece. I think the fight goes to decision is a good parlay piece. I think Lupi by decision is a good look as well. I think Lupi third round decision. I think those are all good looks. I think that, Gudinez is the much younger fighter here. Angela Hill 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Angela Hill was taken down easily in her last fight against Vera Jandiroba, who Jandiroba is a wizard on the mat, but not the best wrestler at all. So it wasn't a great look seeing Vera get her down so easy. I think Lupi is a much, much, much better wrestler than Vera Jandiroba. And on the feet, you got to favor Hill here, but I think it'll be competitive. Like Vera Jandiroba was very competitive with Angela Hill on the feet. It was weird. I was like shocked that Vera was actually competitive with Angela Hill for the most part on the feet. So I think Lupi could be competitive on the feet, absolutely, but she's going to take down Angela Hill. She's going to grind her. She's very, very strong, and I do think she wins this one by decision. A parlay piece that I was kind of looking at. So the parlay piece I was looking at, first of all, I did parlay Gudinez, but another parlay piece I was looking at in the same fight was the fight goes to decision. And it's been smashed throughout the week. I think it was like minus 260 earlier, which is phenomenal. It's now like minus 320, but we'll take a look at these finish rates here. Lupi Gudinez is the worst finish rate on the entire card. Angela Hill, for what it's worth, 25 professional fights. She's only been finished twice. So I don't see Gudinez finishing Angela Hill, especially seeing that Angela Hill has shirt up that submission defense, and she really impressed me. She was able to fight out of all the submission attempts of Vera Jandiroba. If she can do that, I think she can stay safe against Gudinez here. And then Angela Hill has, I think, the third worst finish rate on the entire card. The third there. So Dominic Cruz having the second. So yeah, I think a fight goes to decision is a good parlay piece. I wouldn't mind parlaying up the fight goes to decision in the Lupi fight with the fight doesn't go to decision in the Ontiveros fight. I wonder what that would be, but I think that's a pretty interesting parlay. But yeah, both good parlay pieces regardless. On DraftKings, not going to play much Hill, if any. Probably just going to fade her, honestly. And then Gudinez, 9,200, takedown upside, control time upside, rinse and repeat takedowns. I think she scores very well. I don't think she gets a finish, though, but I do think she can rack us with takedowns here. We got Alex in the chat. What is up, Alex? How you doing? A tough fight card to bet on. Yeah, I ended up finding a decent amount of spots. But yeah, initially I did think it was going to be a very tough card, but I'm kind of heavily invested at this point. Breski, you roasted. Guy gassed out on the walking to the weigh-ins is hilarious. Yeah, it definitely happened. Does Hill get cut if she loses? Record doesn't look good. I would lean towards probably. Mark liking Lupi and Ode. Yeah, I think they both win, but I'm definitely higher on Lupi, though. We got Mushroom in the chat. What's up, Brady? Sorry I got in late. Let's go. Violence. Yes, there will be some violence at UFC San Diego. Not as much as UFC Vegas 59, but I do think there's going to be some violence. Hill is ranked 13, about to go from 13-12 to 13-13. Yeah, what a record. What a record. All in on Cheetos. You're talking about Cheeto Vera. Hill did impress me by how she changed gyms and kept improving. Good for her. Yeah, I think Hill's made a ton of improvements, right? But she's getting up there in age. I think she's 37, 38. Lupi's so much younger here. I think it's a good matchup for Lupi. Hill going to be just a mediocre commentator instead of a mediocre fighter. There you go. Imagine missing your big parlay because of a minus 600 bet. Yeah, imagine it. That's why I try to stay far, far away from the parlays, Eric. And I do have one parlay this week, but this one parlay, it's like my sixth parlay of the year, and we only have 25 cards. So yeah, I always try to warn people about the parlays as well, but we'll see what happens. Gudinez by decision. Yep, that's minus 150. Really like your parlay, putting 4 units on it. Yeah, I do have 2 units on it myself, Gudinez and Martin Budai. I think they both win. Lipski by decision or the fight goes the distance, I think are both good looks. All right. We will move on to the next fight, and we have Bruno Silva going against Gerald Meerschaert here, which is another fight that obviously has some violence. And all right, here, taking a look at the weigh-ins real quick. Bruno Silva with the glasses. I like it. But yeah, this fight has violence written all over it here, and I do have a bet on it. I have a 2-unit bet on the fight won't start round 3 on DraftKings Sportsbook. No, a 1.5 unit bet on the fight won't start round 3, minus 200 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I don't really think this fight reaches the second round, but I do like getting that extra round just in case. I think Bruno Silva starches Gerald Meerschaert in the very first round. I think it's a really tough matchup for Meerschaert. Meerschaert does not have the best wrestling. Bruno Silva has really good takedown defense, a really good get-up game. And as long as Bruno Silva does not make a mistake, and that mistake would consist of, we see it time and time again with Gerald Meerschaert. Guys are willing to go down and hang on the mat with Gerald Meerschaert. Like, it happens a lot, actually, and it's weird. Guys are willing to go down to the mat with Gerald Meerschaert, kind of like Paul Craig, right? Guys are willing to go down there, get off some ground and pound, and eventually they get caught in something. So as long as Bruno Silva is smart enough to realize, hey, I have a big, massive striking advantage, I'm not going to follow Meerschaert down to the mat. He should absolutely starch Meerschaert in the first round. I don't think the striking's close. Bruno Silva hits like a truck. Gerald Meerschaert's been knocked out a few times in the UFC, especially as of late. His chin seems to be diminishing a little bit. He's been hurt a ton. I think Bruno Silva hits like a truck. I think Bruno Silva hits a lot harder than Ian Heinisch. I will say that. So, Bruno Silva round 1, but the bet I have is that fight won't start round 3, 1.5 units minus 200. I don't mind the under 1.5 as well, which is around minus 125. I don't mind that. And then obviously fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece is solid as well. I'd be really surprised if this fight did get extended stylistically, and just, both guys really, really good finishers. I think someone's getting finished here. From a DraftKings perspective, you got to play both sides. Meerschaert is always live for a submission if the fight does hit the mat, and Bruno Silva has a ton of power in his hands, and I think he really hurts Joe Meerschaert here. So more so on the Silva side, but Meerschaert is not the worst pump play in the world. Barely anybody on Meerschaert. I know my guy Lou Betcha is all over Meerschaert this week, but yeah, not a people on Meerschaert, that's for sure. Poopy by decision. I think you mean Loopy. Am I crazy thinking Witt will win this fight without the juice and the pressure to perform? Without it, I think Quinn will look horrible and Witt will take him down repeatedly. I don't think you're crazy at all. And if you do like Witt, I would recommend like the Witt by decision or the decision only on DraftKings for Witt are really good looks this week. But I personally think he gets knocked out. But I'm not laying minus 300 on Quinlan. People are high on Onama, but he hasn't fought anyone of quality. Nate the Train fought better competition. Odds don't make sense to me. Should be a pick'em. Oh, should be a pick'em. I don't know about that, but I do think the line is wide. But I don't know about a pick'em. Ground and late. What is Brady's parlay? It's a loopy parlayed with Budai. Old 2-legger there. The most significant strike prop on Bet Online for Bruno Silva at minus 155. That's nuts. I like Silva by KO. Worried as Meerschaert did all over several of my previous bets. Yeah, that's what he does. He is like a Paul Craig. He does that. But yeah, like I said with the Volkan Oezdemir fight, like Volkan Oezdemir would have to make a huge mistake to lose that fight against Paul Craig. Same thing here. Bruno Silva would have to make a huge mistake to lose this fight against Gerald Meerschaert. I don't see how Silva loses this. He stuffs takedowns, and he was able to hang with Pereira on the feet. GM3 is nowhere near Pereira. Probably gets slept early. I think it comes very early as well. Silva inside the distance and having more significant strikes in GM3. Plus 105. Great value here. Yep. Makes no sense to me. Get it. Plus 105 all day. Silva KO fight is a good decision. Under 2.5, under 1.5, downward violence ladder. Yep, I'm right there with you. I got that fight. Won't start round 3. Meerschaert will get stopped by Silva quick, and that's what I'm thinking as well. I think it's very quick. Maybe even in a minute. Maybe that 60-second bonus could be live for Bruno Silva. All right, we'll keep moving on, guys. We have Ariana Lipski going against Priscilla Catch a Beating. I do have a bet here, and I talked about it last week. I have the fight doesn't go to decision, half a unit, plus 130. The reason being is, Priscilla Catch a Beating. Why do they call her Catch a Beating? The reason is she blocks punches with her face. She absorbs 8 significant strikes. When you just don't see numbers like that. Like those are video game numbers. And at some point, you are going to get hurt. I know they call her the zombie, but Lipski hits very hard. She has multiple knockdowns. Eating punches with your face is not a good strategy, especially against somebody that hits as hard as Lipski. So I know Cachoeira is extremely durable, but Lipski hurting Cachoeira on the feet would not shock me at all, considering how hard Lipski hits. On the flip side, Cachoeira, if she wins, it's going to be by knockout. It's going to be because she pressured Lipski, she broke Lipski, and that could definitely be on the table, especially considering Lipski did miss weight. She got sick last week. She went to the hospital. Has she recovered? What happened? I don't know. So Cachoeira breaking Lipski as the fight goes on, I think that's on the table as well. And then another thing is I think Lipski is very live for a sub if she's able to get this fight down to the mat. Lipski, very sneaky ground game, and Cachoeira, that's the worst aspect of her game, is that ground game. So I think there's multiple routes to a finish here. It's plus money. I don't hate it. Both fighters, good finishers. Plus 130, I don't mind at all. Half a unit on that. I think Lipski's live for a submission if this fight hits the mat. And of course, Priscilla Catch a Beating's live to catch a beating and then come back and get that knockout win. So Lipski minus 190. It doesn't really make much sense to me because I could have swore and I would look it up, but best fight odds is not working correctly at the moment, but I would look it up. But Lipski was like minus 170, like minus 165, minus 160 last week. And now she's like minus 190, minus 200. And I'm just wondering what has changed. What has changed in the last couple days? And I'm not sure. And by the way, I'm watching the ceremonial weigh-ins right now, and Priscilla Catch a Beating does not have that blue streak in her hair, but definitely has a great haircut. Definitely looking very handsome, pumping up the crowd. She's ready. She's the zombie. I can't wait. They're doing the face-offs. It's intense. I like it. Catch a Beating, obviously the more handsome fighter in the matchup. But I think Lipski is the better fighter there. So, man, it got caught off track there with Cachoeira's haircut. But let me see what we got in the chat. I have Lipski by KO or decision. Yeah, this goes to decision. I do lean towards Lipski getting the decision win. The train is plus 105 versus anybody on Earth. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not as big as a fan of Landwehr as most people, it seems like. He did get knocked out by Herbert Burns and Rosa in the very first round. And Onama hits harder than both those guys combined. So we'll see. Cachoeira KO fight does go under 2.5. I love it. Love me some violence here. Is it just me, or does Lipski look like Wonder Woman? A little bit. Violence is a good look here. Yeah, I think so as well. If one fight goes to decision between the two fights, is it GM3 or Onama versus Nate? Yeah, probably the Onama versus Nate. Catch a Beating by TKO with that forward pressure. Yeah, it's definitely on the table. Catch a Beating always wrote. No, it's not a roast. That's her name. She's the zombie girl. And I'm a big Priscilla Catch a Beating fan. I bet the under 2.5 for plus 160 early. Now it's like plus 135. Yes, some money is coming in on that, and rightfully so. Catch a Beating will win. Lipski will not be 100% after being that sick last week. Her chin will not be as solid as usual. Yeah, I kind of think the same thing as well. If she is compromised in any way, you don't want to be compromised going into a fight with a zombie like Cachoeira. That's for sure. This is the perfect situation of the UFC favoring a fighter. Finish specialist Quinlan wins Dana White Contender Series overturned due to roids. UFC still keeps him and now gives him one of the chinniest opponents, Quinlan KO. And yeah, I definitely agree there. All right, we'll keep moving on to the next fight and in KO for this one for Cachoeira Lipski. I would not really do that because Lipski, I think she's live for the sub, but I'm not sure what that line is. What's up, Jay? He's saying, what's up, Brady? Been a long time. How is it going, fellow gamblers? It's going really well for me. Hopefully it's going well for you as well, Jay. All right, we'll keep moving on to the next fight. We have Azamat Murzakanov going against Devin Clark here. And yeah, Devin Clark's a very popular dog this week, and I totally get it to an extent. Devin Clark is, going to probably have the better. Well, he's going to have the better cardio. He's going to have the better cardio, and then down the stretch, he's probably going to have the higher volume. It's just, Devin Clark is pretty hittable. Devin Clark has been hurt a ton in the UFC. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's been finishing 6 to 7 losses. I think Murzakanov finishes Devin Clark here early. The reason I cannot quite get to a Murzakanov bet is because I'd be breaking a couple of my rules. The big rule I have is don't bet on gassers, and I don't think Murzakanov has a good gas tank. I don't. We saw it in his last fight. He slowed down bad in the second round. I don't like to see that. So if I was to play this fight, it would be Murzakanov inside the distance, but they're kind of all over it. Like his money line's minus 145, is inside the distance only plus 105. Murzakanov by KO plus 175. I kind of lean that way, but I think I'm just going to stay away. If this fight does get extended, if it does get out of the first round, Devin Clark is very live to take over. So I see why people are on Devin Clark, especially considering Murzakanov, he's very low volume. Murzakanov, he doesn't have good cardio. There's a lot of reasons to like Devin Clark, but I personally think that Murzakanov does finish him in the very first round. I think it's a tough matchup for Devin Clark. I don't think Clark's going to be able to get this fight down to the mat. I don't think Clark's going to be able to hold Azamat against the cage, at least early on. And I think Azamat's going to have a ton of opportunities to find that early finish there. But no bet for me at the moment. I don't think I'll be adding anything, but I do lean towards Azamat inside the distance and Azamat on DraftKings 8,400. I think he has sneaky early upside as well. So give me Azamat for the win. And I don't hate anybody taking a shot on Clark, especially at the earlier odds. Clark did open up like plus 150, and it was Azamat that opened up like minus 175. So I know a lot of people got in on Clark early, and I don't hate it. If he does not get starched in the first round, I think he's going to make this very competitive. I'm looking at that now, Jace. He looked bigger than Azamat by a decent amount, and that is true. He did. Would rather bet Adashev against Ngannou. My goodness. Okay. I got Cruz first round KO. You mean Dominic Cruz? I don't know about that. Clark all day. Yeah, if he can survive that first round, it's going to get interesting. He's going to have to survive that first round, though. Azamat is a tiny light heavyweight. Clark is not a big 205er, and he was much bigger than Azamat. Dude needs to move to 185. I couldn't agree more. And I think, wasn't Azamat supposed to fight at heavyweight like a couple fights ago against like Jared Vandera, I think? But Jared Vandera didn't get approved. I think that was going to be a fight, which is insane. Unless I'm thinking of something else. But I think after Clark got his teeth smashed in, he'll probably just wrestle the whole fight. Yeah, the problem is I just don't think the wrestling's going to be on the table, at least early on here. Brown bear shit in the woods. This brown bear could shit the bed. He definitely could. He has before. I always bet on the dude with gas and sharts. Gas and sharts. I don't know. Murzakanov by first round KO is plus 335. Yeah, that's decent. That is decent. Azamat can strike, Clark can't. Good way to put it. I think Clark's striking's gotten better, but it's clear that Azamat's going to have the striking advantage. It's just the cardio of Azamat, the low volume of Azamat is why I'm not running to the window to bet him. SK saying, Salao hasn't fought in 14 months, is on a 3-fight losing streak, while Blackshear has been active winning fights. Don't get why he's the dog. I think that 14 months is going to heavily benefit a guy like Salao, who's like 25, 26, a guy that's training with some very good guys. I think he's going to level up over those 14 months. And I see why he did it. He was on a 3-fight skid, fighting really good opponents, Topuria, Choi, and Sean Woodson. And I thought he won the Sean Woodson fight. And the Choi fight was extremely competitive, coming down a weight class. I get why Zalaul's the favorite. But yeah, Blackshear, he's good. He's a good fighter. But I don't know. It should be an interesting fight. Gudinez, Silva, Budai, and Vera, very high confidence for me. I have high confidence in, pretty much all 4. Vera's a little iffy for me. But yeah, Budai, Silva, Gudinez especially, I do have some high confidence in them. All right, we'll keep moving on. Here it is, Yasmin Jauregui going against Lasmin Lucindo. Should be an interesting fight here. I'm kind of surprised they have this on. And by the way, Lasmin Lucindo looking very handsome there at the ceremonial weigh-ins. She's 20 years old. 20 years old. She's been fighting since she was 15. I think the reason we are seeing Jauregui looking handsome herself. The reason we're seeing these fighters on the main card is because I think both have really good upside, and I think they both bring a lot of good things to the table. Jauregui, she's a savage on the feet. She looks for the finish at all times. From start to finish, she is looking to get her opponent out of there. On the feet, she comes forward. She throws with a ton of volume, and she has a ton of power as well. Lucindo, she has very good takedowns, very good ground game. When she gets on top, she's nasty. She has great ground and pound, and she is also a very good finisher. I guess it's all going to come down to, is Lucindo going to be able to take down Jauregui? And it's a tough fight to predict because we just don't know enough about each fighter, right? Like, both fighters have not fought the best competition, so it's hard to really gauge how good these fighters are. But I was more impressed with the Jauregui side, and I am going to take Jauregui to win by knockout here. Lucindo is coming in on short notice. Lucindo is dropping down to 115 for the first time in a couple of years. I think if Jauregui is able to stuff the takedowns on the feet, she's going to have such a massive advantage. I think she's really going to overwhelm Lucindo on the feet. On the flip side, if Lucindo is able to have success taking down Jauregui early, I could see Lucindo potentially slowing down, being on short notice, and Jauregui eventually finding a late finish as well. But yeah, I like Jauregui to win here. I like her to win inside the distance. And the bet I do have on this fight is going to be the fight doesn't go at plus 150, and I have a half unit on it. Both these fighters are serious finishers, and I think stylistically, Lucindo is very good on top, and Jauregui is very vicious on the feet. So I think Jauregui's live for that finish by knockout. And you never know. Lucindo, she looks really good in her own right. She looks very dangerous herself. If she's able to get on Jauregui, maybe she could find a finish there. But yeah, plus 150. Fight doesn't get the decision, half a unit. And I also don't mind a poke on Jauregui inside the distance, plus 200. She at least seems very dangerous. But we'll have to find out. They have not fought the best competition, so we're going to see. But I was more impressed with Jauregui there. But I actually think both of these fighters have a lot of upside, especially, Jauregui 23, Lucindo 20. Both. I was really impressed with both, so we'll see how they look. Vera by decision. I got a lot invested in Vera by a finish. Why isn't this fight the opener of the card? Yeah, I kind of expected it to be earlier as well, but I think, it's just because they both have a lot of upside. I think that could be it. Maybe they're trying to push one or the other here. I don't know nothing about Yasmin or Lasmin. Why is this fight even on the main card, yet alone the third to the last fight? This should be an opener. I agree. This belongs on the main card in an LFA event. A total bathroom. I would not take a bathroom break on this fight. This fight is going to be fun. If you want to take a bathroom break, you take it on the Cynthia Calvillo Nunez fight. How confident is everyone on Budai? Is this another heavyweight slug snooze fest? I haven't done much homework on the two. Yeah, so the heavyweight favorites have dropped the ball the last 2 weeks. Dontel Mage dropped the ball. Zach Palga dropped the ball. And we'll see if it's 3 in a row, but I don't expect Budai to drop the ball. Jauregui is so good at ending up on top in the clinches and scrambles. She's a fairly confident parlay piece for me. I'm not as confident as you seem to be, but I do think she wins. They shouldn't fight each other. Both young and solid prospects. I could see both of them in the top 10 in a few years. So Jauregui was supposed to fight somebody else, and Lucinda is stepping in on short notice. So I don't know. I'll take Yasmin by finish. That's where I'm leaning as well. Budai got 30 pounds. Yeah, at least over Breski. Hamdi is the GOAT. Yeah, apparently he's the GOAT. Whose chin are you less confident in? Witt or Meerschaert? Witt or Meerschaert? Witt. I think Witt has the second worst chin on the card. The worst chin goes to Mr. Charlie Ontiveros. The third worst chin on the card probably goes to... should be Meerschaert. Yeah, I'll say Meerschaert for the third worst chin. More finishes or decisions on this card coming off last week. I think we're going to do some decisions. Yeah, that seems to be the popular take this week. Let me see. I am predicting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm predicting 9 finishes out of 13, which is a lot. Typically don't predict that much. I think usually around the 7 or 6 or 7 mark. But yeah, I'm predicting 9 finishes. All right, we'll keep moving on. We have about 10 minutes left. We have David Onama going against Nate Landwehr. Onama is the what is he? The second biggest favorite? Looks like he's the third biggest favorite now, behind Lupi and behind Gabriel Benitez, sitting at minus 330, and Nate Landwehr is plus 270. There's a line that just does not make sense to me on this fight, and that line is Onama inside the distance at minus 105 currently. Onama is minus 330, and his inside the distance line is near a pick'em. Like, I mean, this guy, Onama, is a 100% finish rate. He's never won by decision. He's never won a fight that's went over 2.5 rounds. I think he has maybe one third-round finish. This guy's a finisher. And on top of that, Landwehr has been finished in 3 of his 4 losses. Landwehr is super, super hittable. He's willing to eat a shot to give a shot, and that's going to be a problem here against David Onama. Like I said earlier, Herbert Burns knocked out Landwehr. Julian Erosa knocked out Landwehr. And if you combine the power of both Erosa and Herbert Burns, you get David Onama. This guy hits like an absolute truck. So is the line wide? Yeah, it's wide. If this fight gets extended, it's going to get interesting. It's going to be competitive. Nate Landwehr's a dog. He's going to be there the entire time if he does not get knocked out. But I do think he gets knocked out. You don't want to be hittable against like a guy like David Onama. I think Onama puts him out in the very first round. But yeah, I have a half unit on Onama inside the distance minus 105. A lot of people taking the dog shot on Landwehr. I get it. It's a wide line. But I think Onama knocks him out in the first round. So give me Onama on DraftKings, especially probably the biggest value play on the slate. Onama is priced as somebody that should be 9,200, 9,100. He's a minus 330 favorite, and he's only 8,600. So I'm going to have a ton of Onama. I do think he's going to be one of the more popular, if not the most popular play on the slate. But you got to play some Onama. This price tag on DraftKings just makes no sense. So I like Onama a lot on DraftKings. I like him inside the distance, and I think he does finish Nate Landwehr. But I know a lot of people are on Nate Landwehr. Landwehr does have some hype. He does have some hype, and so does Onama, though. A lot of people very excited about Onama. Watching the face-offs now. Yeah, Nate's coming to fight. But, he eats way too many punches for my liking. Let me see here. Gerald, round 3 sub is an auto bet. I'd be shocked if it got to round 3. But if it does, yeah, Gerald, round 3 sub. Salary column is what the fighters are making. Seems small. No, that's for DraftKings. 9 out of 13 finishes. I guess the over should be avoided. Yeah, you never see me touching overs. I'm not an over guy. Unless something really sticks out. Nate is the modern day Junie Browning with more skill. Onama by KO. If I make a list of all my top picks and you go opposite of my picks, you will make big bucks. I always get screwed. Hey, don't say that. You put the whole Excel sheet together yourself every time. Yes, I do. I do it usually like a week before or 2 weeks before. I like to get ahead and look at the numbers first before I start taping the fights. Then I'll go through, tape the fights, and see where the odds are at, and then place bets or get ready to place some bets on the props. Nate the Train upset. Yeah, if he's able to survive early on, it could get interesting. But, man, does a dude get hit? And you do not want to get hit by David Onama. So we'll see. But, yeah, a half unit, David Onama inside the distance. All right. Last fight with the main event. Marlon Vera going against Dominic Cruz. And, yeah, like I said a second ago, I put the sheet together, and there was something that stuck out right away. And it's something I've had circled for a couple weeks now. And that thing that I circled is the Marlon Vera scorecards equals no action, a.k.a. the finish only on DraftKings, a.k.a. the decision no bet on FanDuel. I said to myself, if they give me a bettable line on Marlon Vera scorecards equals no action, I'm going to smash it. And they gave me a bettable line. Bet online, minus 325, scorecards equals no action. I put 5 units on it, and it is still on DraftKings Sportsbook at minus 360. I would bet that as well. So we'll take a look at the minus 325 here, right? Minus 325 for the finish only. that is about a 76% implied probability. So they're saying that if this fight was played out 4 times, Dominick Cruz is finishing, and this fight finishes 4 times, Dominick Cruz is finishing Marlon Vera in one of those 4 times, and I just don't buy it. I think the line should be 90%. I think the line should be minus 900. I think if this fight finishes 10 times, I think 9 of those finishes come from Marlon Vera. And I think that one finish that comes from the Cruz side, I think it's because it's a cut stoppage on the Vera side. It's an injury on the Vera side. I just don't think Dominick Cruz is finishing Marlon Vera here. We'll take a look at the numbers. Dominick Cruz, a 33% finish rate. 33%. That is the second worst on the entire card. Right in front of Lupi, right behind Angela Hill. Dominick Cruz also has been finished in 2 of his 3 losses. Dominick Cruz has been dropped, 4 times in his last 4 fights. The durability is not quite there anymore. He's getting up there in age. And then on Marlon Vera, one of the most durable guys in the entire UFC, let alone the division. Marlon Vera is a finisher, a 79% finish rate. And Marlon Vera has never been finished. I don't believe he's even been knocked down. This guy has next level durability. So I put 5 units on the finish only. The scorecard equals no action for Marlon Vera. I love that bet. Does it hit? I think it does. I'm personally picking a Marlon Vera finish. If this fight does go to decision, of course, as we know, the scorecards equals no action. The finish onlys, they do get voided if it does go to decision. And maybe it does void, but it's a bet that I would make every single time at that price. So yeah, 5 units, minus 325. I would still bet it at the minus 360 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Just some more numbers. Dominick Cruz has 3 finishes in the last 15 years. 3 finishes in the last 15 years. And one of those was like a doctor stoppage. And then Marlon Vera has 15 finishes in the last 10 years. So I just think the line, I think it should be much, much wider. Like we have the finish only for Quinlan. I think I saw it like minus 1,000 on a book. I forget which book, maybe FanDuel. But the Quinlan finish only on BetOnline's like something crazy as well. I feel like, the Vera finish only should be something crazy here as well. So, injuries happen, the cut stoppages, the doctor stoppages. I mean, those things happen, but I think outside of one of those, I think Marlon Vera, if this fight does finish, the finish comes from him. On the flip side, the decision only for Dominick Cruz is interesting as well. On DraftKings Sportsbook, they have the decision only, which is the complete opposite of the finish only. And this line does not make sense to me. It's plus 150. So if this fight goes to decision, you have a minute winner in Dominick Cruz and you have a moment winner in Marlon Vera. Dominick Cruz automatically wins the first round. That's a given. Marlon Vera never wins the first round, besides against Sean O'Malley. Dominick Cruz is going to win the first round. And then as the fight goes on, Marlon Vera is going to get better and better, but he's going to fall behind early. And Dominick Cruz is probably going to land more significant strikes. He's probably going to be the minute winner in terms of the striking. And he also has that wrestling. I think he can mix in takedowns as well. So in terms of the minute winning ability, it's heavily in favor of Cruz, but it's going to be Vera that's going to be landing the harder shots. If there's a knockdown in this fight, it's going to be coming from him. And if there's a finish in this fight, it's going to be coming from Vera. But I think if this fight does go the distance, it's going to be very, very close. Do the judges favor the volume, the movement, the takedowns of Dominick Cruz, or do they favor the big shots of Marlon Vera? And I think Vera still could win a decision, but I think if this does go to decision, it's going to be super close. And I think that plus 150 on the Dominick Cruz decision only is going to look like some good value there. So I played both. I have 5 units on the Vera scorecards equals no action, minus 325. Then I have a half a unit on Cruz decision only, plus 150. Best case scenario for me is a Marlon Vera finish. I'm predicting a 3rd or 4th round finish. The worst case scenario for me is a Dominick Cruz finish, and I get my ass completely shaved, and I look like an idiot because Dominick Cruz finishes Marlon Vera. He's the first one to do it. I just don't think it's that likely. So, big bet on the Marlon Vera finish only. About 5 units to win, a little bit over 1.5. So I like that bet. Does it hit? I think so. Does it void? We'll see. But I think it's a really good look. And on DraftKings Sportsbook, it's still extremely playable. But from a DraftKings perspective, I think both sides are a good look here. I think Marlon Vera has the finish upside, the knockdown upside. Dominick Cruz has the volume upside. He has the wrestling upside. I like both sides from a DraftKings perspective. But as far as a pick goes, I will take Marlon Vera to win, and I'll take him to win by finish. All right, we'll quickly get through the chat here. The train is getting derailed here. I'm inside the distance. I like it. Same Vera by sub. When you watch tape to research fights, where do you find it? Are you tracking it down on YouTube, or is there a place where you can find it already compiled? I use MMA Play 365. Shout out to Locke. I think he puts the tape index together. They have the tape index on there. I am able to go in there, and they kind of have all the fights listed in a row, and they have not all the fights for the fighters, but the majority of the ones. And it's usually, the YouTube, they put on the Fight Pass, ESPN Plus, some other websites as well. They get all those fights together. It's pretty easy to go through and watch them all. 5 units for me is 5 pennies. I made dozens of pennies last year. I'm like, hey, it is what it is. 5 pennies. There you go. I don't think sports books will let you bet 5 pennies though. People are forgetting that Cruz is a bantamweight GOAT. Cheeto is good, but he won his last fight by losing the first 4 minutes and 30 of every round. That is true. And having big moments in the last 30. And that's why I like that decision only for Cruz. If you like Cruz, decision only or Cruz by decision. I think the fight goes to decision. I don't see a finish here. If there's a finish, I do think it's going to come from Vera. And I personally do see a finish. Minus 500 on BetOnline now, probably throwing 5 units at it. Solid breakdown, man. We appreciate it. Yeah, even minus 500. I feel like it should be minus 900, honestly. Vera's sub is plus 850. Is it? One dog you like on this card? I don't know. There's not a lot of dogs that stick out. Are you talking about from a DraftKings perspective? I don't know. From a DraftKings perspective, as a dog, I like Cruz as a dog. I know a lot of people like Landwehr. Cachoeira is an interesting dog. Ontiveros and Meerschaert are good pump plays. Not a ton of dogs sticking out. I really do like Vera as a fighter, but there's levels of this. Dom is such a cerebral fighter, and I'm going to be 70-30 here on Dom. Yeah, but he is getting up there in age, though. You've got to remember that. Absolutely got to remember that. Wiping out the old generation of UFC fighters is here. Cruz is done. I don't think he's done, but this is a tough matchup for him. Vera KO 2-4. A big bet here. Vera inside the distance, but Cruz having more significant strikes. Strikes in the first round plus 600. I couldn't believe this line, guys. It's still there. So the bet is Vera inside the distance, but Cruz having more significant strikes as a whole and strikes in the first round at plus 600. You do a good job at finding those lines, that's for sure. Appreciate you, Steven. Is Vera more a cash play than GBP at his price? I like him in both. Somebody asked me earlier if you could stack the fight in the main event. I don't hate stacking it. Still trying to figure out what I'm doing in cash though. Thanks, Brady. Great show as usual. Violence, yo chat, hit the like on the way out. Yeah, if you guys have not already, please hit the like. Matt's big on the Vera money line. Yeah, I think he gets it done. How do you like the over 1.5? The over 1.5 for the Vera Cruz fight, I guess, but it's minus 590. I think I saw it. So minus 590. I'm very worried about Dom's chin. Yeah, I think his durability is kind of diminishing a little bit. You're laying mad cheese on the Cruz. Yeah, I think the Cruz decision only is a good way to look if you like Cruz. Yeah, don't mind Nam as a dog for the knockout upside. But keep in mind, like, he has a terrible floor. But, Ode, 42% strike and defense. Nam has a ton of power. All right. Going to quickly recap the bets and we'll head out of here. We have 5 units on the Vera scorecards equals no action, minus 325. Half a unit on Lipski, Priscilla Cachoeira, fight doesn't go, plus 130. Half a unit on Haregi, Lucindo, fight doesn't go, plus 150. 1.5 units, Budai, Breski, fight doesn't go, minus 125. Cruz, decision only, half a unit, plus 150 on DraftKings. The fight won't start round 3, minus 200. 1.5 units on DraftKings. Onama wins inside the distance, minus 105, half a unit on BetOnline. And then to close out the action, a parlay, Gudinez, Martin Budai, minus 129, 2 units on it. And that is my action for this week. All right. So yeah, guys, thank you for hanging out. Tomorrow, best bet is going to be in the afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 1:32-ish, around there. So make sure you guys are subscribed so not miss out on that. Come check out best bet tomorrow. I'll go through and give the best bet for each and every fight on the card, talk about it throughout the chat. And then next week for 278, I'm going to be bringing on a panel for the special 2-hour episode of Best Bet. So that should be a fun one there. I think that's about it. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by numbers. If you have any questions, be sure to hit me up. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to you guys. And best of luck for UFC San Diego. Let us make some money, guys. See ya.